2025 will be a huge year for movies. With the Batman Part 2, we've got Fantastic Four, we've got maybe an Avengers movie, probably not because it's probably delayed. We got Blade, we got some exciting stuff coming in 2025. Also, Shrek 5, right there, that's pretty exciting. But honestly, I think the movie I'm most excited for is Superman Legacy. Superman is one of my favorite superheroes, and to get a fresh new take on him, especially everything we've heard about this film with just, I loved Henry Cavill as Superman, but it was definitely a much darker version of Superman. So I love that now both James Gunn and actor David Corenswet, who's going to play Superman, have talked about this being a much brighter, hopeful, classic blue Boy Scout version of Superman. I think that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, and just everything we've heard about it, it seems like a creative way to look into both sides of this already established character's life. I'm really excited to see what else we find out about this film, especially now that the actor strike is over. So we know we're going to be getting more casting news soon, and that's really exciting because obviously the last casting news we got was fantastic and out of nowhere. We know that we're getting other heroes in this film, such as Metamorpho, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl. Who knows who else? But the other day, when the actor strike was officially concluded, James Gunn did give a slight update with reconfirming the official release date of this film. So he already gave the release date months ago when they originally announced the movie, but this time he's reconfirming it because of the strike. A lot of projects are delayed because of that, but fortunately, due to the efforts of this insanely talented crew for Superman Legacy, they're still going to be able to make their official release date of July 11th, 2025, only in theaters. That obviously is really exciting. I think that's going to be fun, and it's great. Again, 2025 is going to be a great year, but one of my biggest things when it comes to Superman Legacy that I'm curious about and really excited about is the villain, because the villain is always one of the most important parts. If you look at actually a very recent film, The Marvels, one of the reasons I didn't love that movie is because the villain sucked. So you need a good villain for your movie, and Superman has always been a hard character to do a good villain for because he's such a powerful character, and they always go back to the same villains every time. It's always Lex Luthor or General Zod. They never dive into any other villains, and I'm tired of it. So in this video, I want to make this video just to talk about and speculate about who the main villain of Superman Legacy could be. Obviously, there's probably going to be multiple villains, but let's talk about what could be offered as potential candidates for our villains of Superman Legacy, because we haven't heard much about that. Now we're starting off with, of course, the obvious one, Lex Luthor. Now Lex Luthor, we already know for a fact is going to be in this movie. We know that they're working on casting the character. There's been multiple casting rumors out there, including Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, and Alexander Skarsgård. So there's options there, and I don't know if they cast somebody before the strike or if they're going to cast somebody now, but that is most likely the next big cast announcement we will find out about, so I think that's exciting. But when it comes to Lex Luthor, obviously, like I said, we know he's going to be in this movie, so there's nothing to speculate about. But what I want to make clear to a lot of people, or at least actually what I hope is the case, is that Lex Luthor will not be the main villain of this movie. He can be here, and he can maybe have an antagonistic presence, but I would much rather they set him up as a part of this world and, a bit of an adversary to Superman, but not an actual Superman versus Lex Luthor fight. Not an actual, he's the main villain of this movie. Lex Luthor is a big character that you can set up for longer down the line. A sequel, a threequel, a Justice League movie, there's a lot of potential with the character of Lex Luthor. But the other biggest character we've heard about when it comes to speculation for this film is Brainiac. And Brainiac is an interesting one because we've never seen him done on the big screen before. The best live-action version of Brainiac was actually on Krypton, which, fantastic version of the character, but I would love to see him with a big budget in a big theatrical release movie. I think that would be fantastic, and so many fans want to see that treatment given to Brainiac, but unfortunately, I just don't think this is the right time or place to do it. I mean, you know, to start off that strong, like, I want this to be a smaller scale Superman movie. I don't want it to be Superman going into space and fighting a robot alien. I don't want this to be another big, huge CGI fest. You know, this movie can be better than that. Brainiac definitely, I think, is something that should happen, maybe in the sequel or maybe in the threequel. But again, I think is a character that can wait. I think we need to build up to that. Don't have Superman fight against Brainiac in this movie and then, you know, him have to fight a lower level villain in the next one. Build up to that, start small, and build up to Brainiac. But if that's the case, if we're not doing Brainiac here, we're not doing Lex Luthor, definitely not doing General Zod, who else could be the villain of this movie? Well, like I said, let's get this a bit more grounded. Let's go smaller scale. How about Toyman? Toyman, I think, would be a fantastic villain. Maybe not the main villain, but it would be a cool little opening to the movie or a little side quest that we could get. I mean, Toyman, there's been plenty of versions of the character, but I just think he's a very fun, kind of obscure Superman villain that is totally up James Gunn's alley. So I can see that being a possibility, and I would love to see it, especially if they take inspiration from Superman the Animated Series, where he literally looks like a doll. You could really kind of add a creepy factor to that as well. I think that would be a lot of fun. Another character who a little bit less grounded, but is also very much up James Gunn's alley, is Mr. Mxyzptlk. Mxyzptlk, of course, classic Superman villain, but also very powerful Superman villain. He's kind of similar to Batmite, and we know James Gunn, he loves Batmite, so maybe if he's not doing Batmite, instead he can do the next best thing with Mr. Mxyzptlk. I think, again, if we're going super comics accurate here, which James Gunn loves to do, to get a comics accurate little, you know, outfit and everything, I would think that would be fantastic. And the perfect casting, at least personally for me, is Wallace Shawn. I think Wallace Shawn would be a great Mr. Mxyzptlk, but obviously, you know, you can let me know your own casting ideas in the comments below. Now, what about Livewire? Livewire is another one that, you know, she's pretty powerful as well, but still obviously not Superman level, so she could be in here. Again, I loved her in Superman the Animated Series, grew up watching that. She was good in the Supergirl TV series as well, but to bring her to live action, I think would be a lot of fun. And both Livewire and Mxyzptlk kind of recently got brought back into the mainstream with the recent My Adventures of Superman cartoon series on Adult Swim. So take inspiration from that. That show was great. Bring them into Superman Legacy. What about Metallo? Metallo actually was almost in Batman v Superman and was later cut. But Metallo is a really interesting character because, you know, he's just a robot, but he has a kryptonite heart. So he actually poses a pretty big threat to Superman because he can kill him pretty easily. And, you know, kryptonite is obviously his weakness. So Metallo, I could see being another cool opportunity here, especially if you don't want to do something that's huge. Again, I want to keep this grounded. I want to keep this low level. And I think Metallo would be a nice character to do here. Now, getting into some of the more obvious choices, I would say, would be Parasite. Parasite, again, also kind of recently brought into fame with My Adventures of Superman. But what I'd like to cite even more is the recent, from a couple years ago, the Superman Man of Tomorrow animated movie. Parasite was the main villain of that and was a fantastic villain. He was used as almost Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type character, except he didn't switch back and forth, but, you know, he was just a regular guy, he was a janitor, and then he's transformed into this creature that can steal powers. He steals the power of people, he can steal Superman's power. That obviously, again, poses a big threat to the character. And Parasite also, I just think, would be a really cool visual. I mean, get a giant kaiju purple monster fighting Superman. That, I think, would be awesome, and there's, again, a lot of fun that could be had with that. Bizarro, I think, is another one of my favorite Superman villains that I would love to see featured here. How likely is it? I think not very. But I think, finally, what we really need to talk about here is probably one of the most, like, unexpected, but also it makes the most sense options is Lobo. Because Lobo, again, is a classic Superman villain. He was great in Superman the Animated Series. He was great in Superman Man of Tomorrow. And we have heard that Jason Momoa is going to be done with Aquaman after Aquaman and Lost Kingdom, and that he will be going forward in the DCU as Lobo. So what better way to introduce Lobo, the main man, before you give him his own movie or spin-off series on HBO Max? Introduce him as, again, maybe not the main villain, but a villain in Superman Legacy. I think that would be fantastic. I think David Corenswet versus Jason Momoa, again, there's a lot of fun that could be had with that, and there's so many options when it comes to this. There's so many good Superman villains out there that have not been done either properly or at all on the big screen in the DC universe. So this I think is going to be a big deal when we find out who the villain of this movie really is. Because again, we know Lex Luthor's in here, but who is the main villain? What other villains are we going to be seeing in here? And again, I'm hoping we can go smaller scale, more grounded, and get some of these more kind of obscure Superman villains in here, like a Toyman, like a Mr. Mxyzptlk, or a Metallo. I think those would all be really fun to see, but I guess we'll have to wait and see for now, guys. I mean, obviously, hopefully we'll be getting some casting news soon for Lex Luthor specifically, but maybe for our other villains as well. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Superman Legacy, and who do you think will be the main villain, or at least villains, of Superman Legacy? Let me know your thoughts, ideas, and even casting ideas in the comments below. But for now, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.